Outer intention. Intention is a combination of desire and action. The intention to do something by your own efforts is obviously personal intention. It is much more difficult to extend the action of intention to the external world. We refer to this kind of intention as outer intention. Outer intention has the potential to rule the world, or rather, to choose the model of behavior the external world lives by, as well as determine the script and scenery. The ability to influence the external world not through direct effort, but by aligning with the flow of circumstances, allowing reality to unfold in alignment with your goals. It involves the belief that your desired outcome already exists and simply needs to be chosen or accessed rather than forced into existence by personal willpower. The concept of outer intention is critical to the alternatives model. Today, all manipulations of time, space, and matter that cannot be explained logically tend to be described as magic or paranormal phenomenon. These things are the work of outer intention, which works to choose lifelines in the alternatives space. So the pencil is lying on the table. With the power of your intention, you imagine that it's beginning to move. Your attention scans sectors in the alt space where the pencil is placed in all sorts of other positions. If the thought energy you radiate at this stage is powerful enough, the pencil will materialize at different points in the space of physical reality. It is the separate pencil layer that moves, while the remaining layers, including the layer of the observer, remain unmoved. It is not the object itself that moves, but its point of realization in the alt space. Most people cannot move objects with their minds, not because they lack energy, but because they struggle to believe it's possible. Telekinesis doesn't involve physically moving objects. Instead, it relies on a rare ability to use pure outer intention to shift the point of material realization in the alt space. Everything connected with outer intention is generally considered mysticism, magic, or at best, inexplicable phenomena, proof of which is successfully stored away on distant dusty shelves. The predominant worldview totally negates these things, and so anything irrational evokes a strange fear. People who witness UAPs, aka UFOs, also experience high levels of fear and dismay or anxiety. UAPs are so far from our day-to-day reality that we do not want to believe that they exist. When they display the stunning audacity of being real, they evoke a kind of weird horror. Outer intention is not limited to paranormal phenomenon, but appears in everyday life, often causing our fears and worst expectations to materialize. Outer intention operates independently of our will, making it hard to recognize. Unlike inner intention, which is driven by personal effort, outer intention is much more difficult to harness. Imagine that you landed on an island where you had to face a tribe of savages. Your life would depend on what you did next. One possible outcome is that you'd become the victim, apologizing for your presence, making gifts, justifying yourself, and trying to ingratiate yourself with the natives. In this case, you'd likely get eaten. One possible outcome is that you'd become the victim, apologizing for your presence, making gifts, justifying yourself, and trying to ingratiate yourself with the natives. In this case, you would likely get eaten. The second possible outcome is that you would become the conqueror, showing signs of aggression, launching an attack, and trying to assert your control over the tribe. You would either be victorious or lose your life. The third alternative is that you would present yourself as master and leader. If you were to reach out your hand like the powers that be, you would be obeyed. When you have no doubt in your mind, your thought energy is attuned to lifelines where you are king and everyone else assumes that this is how things should be. The first two types of behaviors demonstrate inner intention, whereas the third type demonstrates how outer intention works. Outer intention simply chooses a certain alternative. The fly that keeps hitting a closed window pane represents inner intention, persistently pushing without progress. Outer intention, however, would allow the fly to step back, gain perspective, and notice the open window nearby. Instead of struggling, outer intention shifts the focus to a lifeline where the problem is already solved. For example, rather than forcing the pencil to move with effort, outer intention would involve scanning the alt space to shift to a reality where the pencil is already in the desired position. Inner intention aims to impact the outside world of your current lifeline. Everything that is possible within the confines of a materialized sector can be described by the laws of the natural sciences and fits nicely within the limits of the material worldview. Outer intention, by contrast, chooses a lifeline on which your desire can be realized. From the alternatives model, it follows that man can create his own destiny. Let us imagine that it is Christmas Eve and you are certain you will not be able to find a parking spot just outside the mall. The voice of inner intention would say there could not possibly be a free parking space because the whole world is out shopping. Outer intention, on the other hand, would allow for the possibility that one space might become free just as you're pulling up to the mall. It is not so much that in the case of working with outer intention, you solidly believe in the possibility. It is more that you simply claim the possibility of what you deem necessary, dispassionately, and unconditionally. All magical rituals are aimed at evoking the power of outer intention, but ritual is just the preparation for magic, a theatrical prelude. Imagine that you're falling off a cliff in a dream. To save yourself, you'd instantly need the intention to float, not by preparing or chanting a spell, but simply deciding to fly and it will happen. Spells or rituals can awaken an individual's inherent power, but cannot directly activate it. Sadly, the ability to wield outer intention has atrophied in modern humans, forgotten over time, even though ancient legends hint at its existence. Outer intention is often mistaken for magic or miracles. Alchemists sought the philosopher's stone to turn base metal into gold, and seekers of the Holy Grail believed it held unlimited power. These legends are symbolic. Ritual objects and incantations don't hold power themselves. They can only help awaken belief and activate the subconscious to access outer intention. The true power lies not in the objects, but in the ability of the individuals to harness this force. Pendulums, however, have steered humanity towards prioritizing inner intention, feeding off its energy while burying the knowledge of outer intention. To unlock this power, one must first free themselves from pendulum manipulation, reclaiming a long-lost ability that pendulums have worked so very hard to suppress. We have established that the nature of thought energy aimed at achieving set goals manifests in three different forms: desire, inner intention, and outer intention. Desire is the concentration of attention on the goal itself. As you can see, desire has no power. You can think about your desire to reach a goal for as long as you'd like, but there'll be no change. Inner intention is the concentration of attention on the process of moving towards the goal. This can work, but demands a lot of effort. Outer intention is the concentration of attention on how the goal is realized of its own accord. Outer intention simply allows the goal to realize itself. Outer intention presupposes the firm belief that the alternative of the goal's realization already exists and only remains to be chosen. Inner intention achieves the goal, outer intention chooses the goal. Inner intention can be characterized by the thought pattern, "I insist that," or "I must make this happen," while outer intention follows a totally different principle. Circumstances are such that, or "it turns out that." The difference between these two thought patterns is huge. In the first case, you actively exert pressure on the world, making it obey your wish. In the second case, you take the position of an outside observer where everything happens according to your will, but without the slightest coercion. It is the difference between changing and choosing. You fly in your dream because of the thought pattern, "Oh, I'm flying," not "I insist on being able to fly." Inner intention strives directly towards the goal. Outer intention is focused on the process of its independent realization. Outer intention does not hurry to achieve the goal, as it's already a done deal. The fact that the goal will be indeed achieved is neither doubted nor discussed. Outer intention is unremitting, cool-headed, detached, and moves the goal without doubt towards its realization. The following comparisons can discern where inner intention and outer intention come into play. You try and get something from life, life freely gives you what you want. You fight for your place under the sun, the world offers you its embrace. Bang on a locked door, the door opens wide before you. Try passing through a wall, the wall moves aside for you. You try and generate certain events in your life, the events come of their own accord. Using inner intention, a person tries to force their material reality into alignment with the alt space, while outer intention shifts the alt space itself to align where the person needs to be. The result may look the same, but the methods are entirely different. If you act by choosing rather than battling, you're using outer intention. Battling is like trying to push your reality into the alt space, while choosing allows the alt space to flow towards you. However, this doesn't mean the space moves on its own accord. You still need to take certain actions, ones that often go beyond conventional thinking. Outer intention is the foundation of transurfing. It reveals why there's no need to fight against the world. Instead, you can simply choose the reality you desire. This principle will be further illustrated throughout the training. Outer intention has no limits. You could fly or walk on water if you possess the outer intention of Christ. This wouldn't contradict the laws of physics because those laws only apply within one sector of material reality. Outer intention shifts realization through different sectors of the alt space. In physical reality, flying within a sector requires resisting gravity, a feat of inner intention demanding huge energy. However, in dreams or in waking, with outer intention, flight isn't about physically overcoming gravity, it's about shifting your point of material realization to new locations in the alt space. Put simply, you don't move through space, space moves relative to you, guided by your choice of outer intention. While this might seem counterintuitive, it aligns with the principle that outer intention shapes reality by altering the alt space around you. In order to fly, you have to have absolute faith in the idea that it's possible to do so. Why did Jesus so matter-of-factly say, "According to your faith, be it unto you"? Perhaps because nothing can be received or completed without intention, and there's no intention without faith. We would not be able to take a single step unless we believed it was possible to do so. However, you will never be able to convince the rational mind that it's possible to fly in waking as it is in dreaming, at least in a normal state of consciousness. There are yogis in India who can leave the ground during meditation. These are the only reliable cases of levitation that we've come across. Their intention may only be sufficient to attune to the movement of alternatives in which the body floats in midair. Now, taking into account the incredible capacities of yogis in comparison to ordinary people, you can imagine just how difficult it must be to overlay one's personal will on the power of outer intention. Pure outer intention is free of both doubt and belief. In dreams, even a faint trace of outer intention enables flight, but in physical reality, intention must be absolutely pure due to the density of material realization. However, achieving your personal goals doesn't require this level of purity. Regular intention is enough. It just takes time for reality to align and materialize. To experience the power of outer intention, you have to escape from limiting thought patterns and emotional habits that keep us trapped in conventional, everyday modes of existence. The rational mind usually exists within the narrow confines of the dominant worldview. It can be very difficult to move beyond the limits of the conventional mindset because outer intention is essential to make the leap, and the rational mind will not easily give up its dominating position. It is a vicious circle because you have to apply outer intention in order to experience it, not an easy task. We are afraid that we will have to disappoint the maker as we are not aware of any exercises that specifically develop a feeling for outer intention. The aim of such an exercise, if it existed, would probably be something strange like to intend to have intention. The only way of understanding the nature of outer intention more deeply is to practice lucid dreaming. In place of some targeted exercise, however, we would recommend simply practice conscious living in everyday reality, not so much training outer intention as living it. The reality of the waking state differs from dreaming only in the inert quality of material realization in the alt space. In all other ways, they are the same. You may wonder what we have to work with if we're not able to direct the power of outer intention. Of course, you are highly unlikely to move slabs of stone weighing several tons, but the density of the material world can be overcome by time. Conventional methods of achieving goals are based on activating the power of inner intention. The essence of the transurfing method, in contrast, is based on leaving inner intention alone and applying the principle of outer intention. Inner intention transforms into outer intention when the conscious mind aligns seamlessly with the subconscious. The boundary between the two is so subtle that it's hard to define where inner intention ends and outer intention begins. It's similar to the feeling of free fall, or finding balance on a bike for the first time, or deliberately lifting yourself up into the air in a dream to fly. This harmony between the conscious and subconscious exists in a very narrow range. It's easy to move a finger intentionally, harder to move a toe, and even more challenging to wiggle your ears, let alone control internal organs. The muscle of outer intention is even less developed, which is why merging the conscious and subconscious to achieve something like flying is considered nearly impossible. Inner intention is focused on avoiding the things you see as negative, that are oppressive, cause you anxiety, or evoke resentment. There are some things we just want to avoid with all our heart, things that cut us to the core, that evoke fear and aversion. The rational mind is fearful, and the soul too is anxious. The rational mind experiences hostility, and the heart feels the same. The mind experiences hate, and the heart all the more so. The heart and the mind are in complete agreement. It is in these moments of union between the conscious and the subconscious that outer intention is activated. The only problem is that it's not directed with our personal will. It is probably not quite accurate to speak here of outer intention being directed. Whereas inner intention has the focus of staving off the negative, outer intention would be more accurately described as giving the green light for the realization of whatever the soul and mind agree on. What they agree on, of course, is their assessment of a given event. Whether it is a desired event or not is irrelevant. It is as if outer intention, on seeing that the mind and the heart are united, automatically chooses the matching sector in the alt space. Put simply, if the heart and mind are in harmony, the subject matter they're aligned on, whether desired or disdained, will be realized. Why is it that we're so good at realizing our worst expectations and not the things we truly desire? The heart and mind most often agree over the things they would rather avoid in life, and so the cases where a person's worst expectations are realized provide the most indicative illustration of how outer intention works. As we have said before, people usually have an excellent idea of the things they do not wish to experience and only have a vague sense of what they desire with a passion. To subject outer intention to your will, you have to wipe all negative thought from your mind and establish harmony between the heart and mind in your positive striving. You already understand what a harmful effect negative attitude can have on your life. When you express resentment and dissatisfaction, you become subject to the impact of balanced forces. Then you become dependent on destructive pendulums, and your thought energy becomes focused on negative sectors of the alt space. Attracted by the negativity, outer intention transforms the sector into the physical reality of life. The moment you doubt whether you can fly, you cease forever to be able to do it. J. M. Barrie, Peter Pan. There are two main conditions for using outer intention. First condition, desire must be replaced by intention. Total resoluteness in the decision to have and act. Second condition, reducing the intensity of importance and abandoning attachment to achieving one's goal. The concept of outer intention may feel unclear at first because it resists simple explanation. However, its essence will become clear as you apply the principles of transurfing in practice. There is no need for mystical classes or secret seminars to understand or use it. Everything you need is outlined here. Transurfing is practical, not shrouded in mystery. Many so-called secret teachings are often obscured by vague metaphors and elaborate rhetoric. However, true clarity comes from understanding and expressing ideas simply. If someone claims to hold special cryptic knowledge that can only be revealed selectively, they likely have not fully grasped it themselves. The goal of transurfing isn't to achieve supernatural abilities like levitation, but to learn how to reach your goals using the resources and capabilities you already have. While these may seem limited now, transurfing unlocks a rarely utilized power within you. It doesn't require exhausting practices, meditations, or mystical techniques. Though the concept may initially seem unlikely, by simply rethinking your view of reality, you'll find that you can achieve what once seemed impossible. With practice, you'll realize you can harness the power of outer intention to work in your favor.